My name's Jen. I've been in the industry for about 7 years. That includes a little bit of time in undergrad. So I graduated in 2017. I am on an assistant director path, and I've done a ton of PA gigs and also at this point a good amount of AD gigs. I'm sort of trying at this point to distance myself from the PA world and really immerse myself full time in assistant director things. So that's where I am right now. Recently, I've been working on a few feature films, so that's been really exciting. I worked on one recently called The Death That Awaits with a director who's fairly well known in the editing world and an actress who is also a rising star. So I'm hoping when that gets edited that something fun comes to fruition with that. But regardless of what potential that could have, the project itself was amazing and I worked with amazing people and made really great connections. So that's always the goal of any project. PA roles really vary, as does any role on a project, because project to project, there are overlapping gray areas with different departments. You'll never know exactly what you're going to be getting yourself into is kind of what it comes down to. But a lot of PA work is lifting, moving, organization. It's basically being willing to be a yes man or a yes woman or a yes non-binary person, a yes whatever, and to really just not say no and to really prove yourself, and that's how you get further in the industry. So regardless of where you want to go, starting as a PA can lead you pretty much anywhere you want to go in the industry. I know if you want to be union, you need a certain number of hours and you need to, or days, and you need to keep your call sheets to prove it. So that's one thing I suggest from day one. Just keep a file of every call sheet that your name is on and anything you've worked on. And if you're ever miscredited on a call sheet or your name is misspelled, you can ask for a copy with your name correct. You don't need to ask them to disseminate it again, because that's weird, but you can always ask for your records if you could just have one that's updated. And I've done that for people before as well as an AD making call sheets myself. But honestly, it's a lot of movement. It might be moving base camp, which is, where your setup is with the monitors and the chairs, and sometimes, depending on the sort of project, the client or supervisors, producers, etc., and just being like, okay, we're going to a new location, we need to move base camp. And that just means as efficiently as possible to move all that whole setup, including extension cords, which we call stingers, etc., to a new location. So it's just grabbing chairs. It's really having hands available as soon as they're needed, and knowing, and this is just something you learn with time, not to overstep your bounds, but just to be on standby most of the time. I've known since I was a junior in high school that I wanted to be in film and television, but I come from a small rural town, so I didn't even really have a concept of who does what on set. I was able to shadow the first or second AD for the American version of House of Cards on set one day, and I was just like, yep, that's it. That's what I want to be. But before that point, when I was thinking about it, I was like, maybe I want to be a producer, maybe I want to be a line producer, but I wasn't super about the numbers, but I am into organization. So budgets kind of make sense, which is what a line producer mostly focuses on. So, I had a lot of which direction do I really want to go from here before I actually settled on the path of an AD. I was second AD on a set that they didn't really need PAs on, and it was an independent feature film, and that just happened to be my first project, and that was awesome. And one of the reasons, well, actually not one of the reasons, I think I found the opportunity online, and then when I went to meet the director and producer and everything, I found out that they were all French, and I speak fluent French. So when I first got there, I just started talking to them in French, and they were like, wow, cool asset, let's have you on the show. I was a second AD, which is further down the rung. And then by the end of the feature, which was, I believe it was an 18-day shoot, I had been promoted to second AD. I'm non-union, so I don't have any direct insights. There's a training program, and I believe it exists for assistant directors, and I believe there's one for producers as well. Don't mark my words, but maybe go to adtp.com and figure it out. But yeah, the Directors Guild, if you look it up, there are programs that you can apply for. And even if you don't get in the first time, and most people don't, I'm about to be applying for my third time, you can reapply, which is one of the great things. And you can kind of do it at any point in your journey. So it's not like you don't get in and you're out of college and you're like, oh my God, I'll never get a job. You'll be fine. The main thing is move to LA or another, production hub and get your boots on the ground. It can be through word of mouth. I always suggest, if you have any mentor figures, ask to get a coffee. Even if you're broke, I've been there many times. I literally have taken public transit in Los Angeles over an hour away from my home and more just to go get a coffee with someone, and usually they'll cover your coffee. But, scrape together some pennies, you can usually buy a coffee, even in LA. It's really taking advantage of those opportunities and situations and always asking people if they have the time, or even if they have the time for a Zoom, which costs nothing and no transportation. So it's really word of mouth, and the harder people see you're working to break into the industry and the better of a job you're doing, it all gets passed along word of mouth, and someone's just gonna be like, oh, I know this person, they seem like a go-getter. I haven't worked with them yet, but I'm sure that they would love to be a PA on your upcoming project. Here's their contact information, etc. And that just kind of gets the ball rolling. The best part of being an assistant director is hard to say because there are a lot of parts I like about it, which is why I pursue it. I would say that I get to sometimes plan surprises, whether it's for the cast and crew or whether it's for the director, etc., just to kind of make everyone's days easier. I know I was on a film last year and it was a really, really hot day, and I got just 30 Wendy's Frosties delivered to set. And so at wrap, I was just like, you get a Frosty, you get a Frosty. And I just really try to boost morale. And 80s kind of have a rap sometimes of not necessarily being the easiest to get along with, but I really try to be super personable with everyone I talk to. And I love that I get to talk to everyone. I'm like the person on set who talks to, the director, sometimes the writers, etc., but also like the makeup and hair people. But also I develop a rapport with my cast. So honestly, between the surprises and really just gaining true relationships and not just work relationships with the people I work with is very rewarding. My top 3 pieces of advice for anyone trying to get into the industry are: do your best and don't give up. Even if you make mistakes, mistakes are part of the learning process and they get you to where you're going. I'm not saying never apologize for a mistake. You should definitely apologize, but also recognize that it's not the end of the world. You're learning, give yourself a pat on the back because it's kind of a thankless industry at the beginning, and just keep your head down for a little bit and keep going. My second piece of advice is probably have fun. If you're in this industry, your jobs are so variable and the projects you work on are so variable. You can go from doing a music video for someone really famous to doing an independent film with little funding and small budget, and regardless, you get to meet really cool people, whether it's on bigger projects or smaller projects. So just have fun and, get your hands dirty, experience as much as you can, and take the advantage of being on those sets to ask people questions. Most people, as long as you hit them at a good time, are more than happy to share their experiences with you. Definitely a lot to learn there. My third piece of advice is make it happen. You might have to get scrappy. You might have to take public transportation at 4 a.m. across the city. You might have to do crazy but safe things. And when it comes to that, if it's something you really want to pursue, make it happen.